The town of Marrow Creek lay in a forgotten valley, swallowed by fog and time. The streets, once filled with miners' laughter and carts clanging against rails, were now nothing but silent cracks in the earth. Roofs sagged under the weight of years, windows stared blankly like empty eye sockets, and the mines yawned open, black and endless. A damp chill hung in the air, curling around the broken walls and twisted metal. Roots had erupted through sidewalks, strangling everything they touched. The wind carried a faint metallic scent, sharp and bitter, like old blood. No birds flew above. No animals scurried through the underbrush. Only the slow drip of water echoed through the abandoned houses. Somewhere below, in the tunnels that ran beneath the town, a sound throbbed softly, a rhythm like a heartbeat, hidden but persistent. Those who once worked the mines called the black mineral beneath the ground the sleeping stone. They said it pulsed in the dark, alive and dangerous. One night, the mine collapsed without warning, swallowing 30 men. No trace remained, only tunnels that breathed shadows. Decades later, a small team of researchers arrived. They set up cameras, tents, and recording devices, unaware of the eyes that had already opened deep beneath them. The fog clung tightly to the town, heavier than any cloud. Every step through the streets felt deliberate, as though the town itself were watching. The light of day could not pierce the gloom. Even the sun seemed hesitant, hiding behind an invisible wall. On the fourth night, the first tremors began. Tiny vibrations under the feet, like the heartbeat from below had found its way up. Shadows moved unnaturally against the walls. A lamp flickered, then died. Silence fell too thick, almost suffocating. The tunnels were calling. The descent into the tunnels was slow and deliberate. Each step echoed against stone that had not been disturbed in decades. The air grew warmer, thick with humidity, and the faint metallic tang intensified, clinging to skin and lungs. Shadows twisted unnaturally along the walls. The flashlight beams seemed to bend, curving around corners before revealing nothing. A low hum began to fill the passages, vibrating through the bones, resonating with a pulse that was not their own. The deeper they moved, the darker it became. The darkness was alive, pressing against the skin, seeping into thoughts, making every heartbeat thunder. Every surface gleamed faintly with veins of black mineral, and when touched, they felt almost wet, slick, as though the stone itself had a heartbeat. In the main shaft, the air grew stifling. The cameras caught glimpses of something moving just out of frame. A shadow that flickered against the walls, impossible to catch, always at the edge of vision. The ground trembled in waves, sending dust into the air, which hung like a curtain around them. Then the first scream. It came from the darkness ahead, distant yet deafening. No words could be made out, only the raw terror of someone losing all control. The echo stretched unnaturally, bouncing along tunnels that seemed to stretch longer than logic allowed. One of the researchers stumbled, fingers brushing against the black veins of the mineral. The pulse beneath the ground surged. The air shifted. Something moved, not human, not animal, but aware. It circled, invisible but present, whispering against their senses with a pressure they could not name. They turned, trying to retrace steps, but the tunnels had changed. Corridors warped and folded into themselves. The walls pulsed with black stone, veins glowing faintly, guiding them deeper. Each turn led not to the surface, but further down into the heart of the earth. And in the deepest chamber, a mound of black rock rose like a beating heart. The air vibrated around it, thick with the smell of iron and decay. Shadows danced across its surface, stretching into shapes that defied geometry. The pulse was stronger now, synchronized with something far older, something immense. The ground beneath them shivered, not with tremors, but with awareness. The darkness pressed in, whispering promises they could not understand, seducing them into its depths. And as the cameras continued to record, the world outside became irrelevant. Time ceased. The earth waited, patient, for what would come next. The deeper they went, the more the air seemed alive. Each breath felt heavy, saturated with something unseen. Walls glistened with veins of black stone, slick and almost wet. Every step echoed with an unnatural resonance, as if the tunnels themselves were aware of their intrusion. The hum beneath the ground grew louder, resonating through bone and muscle. The pulse was no longer distant. It was inside them, in their chests, in their heads. They could not distinguish their heartbeat from the rhythm of the earth itself. Shadows moved independently of light. Shapes coiled along the walls, then vanished, leaving only the faintest impression of their passage. The floor felt soft underfoot, like the ground itself had been replaced by something alive, quivering beneath their weight. The mound of black stone loomed closer. It seemed to breathe with the pulse of the world, exhaling a dark warmth that filled the tunnels. The mineral veins around it glimmered faintly, revealing faces that were not human, mouths open in silent screams, eyes hollow yet full of awareness. Every instinct screamed to turn back, but the tunnels had shifted. Corridors that had led upward now twisted downward. The pulse drew them deeper, and resistance became impossible. The first of the team disappeared in a shimmer of darkness, a distortion in space that swallowed him entirely. No sound remained except the low, wet thrum of the earth. Panic rose, but it was futile. The tunnels were alive, and their corridors had become a labyrinth with no exit. Light failed. Flashlights flickered and died, one by one. Darkness pressed against them, thick and suffocating. Their cameras recorded only warped images, angles bending impossibly, shadows crawling along the edges of vision. Something moved beneath their feet, coiling around them, unseen but tangible. A vibration ran through the tunnels, low and predatory. The pulse of the black stone grew, synchronized with a rhythm older than memory, a heartbeat that demanded surrender. One by one, the researchers were swallowed by the darkness. The mound at the center pulsed brighter, radiating a presence that was infinite, patient, and utterly merciless. Above ground, Marrow Creek remained silent, the fog thick as ever. No sound disturbed the valley except for the faint hum, like the heartbeat of the world itself, waiting patiently for the next intruders. The tunnels narrowed, walls closing in as if squeezing the intruders. The air was thick and warm, filled with a metallic stench that clung to every breath. Veins of black stone pulsed beneath the surface, radiating a vibration that shook the bones. The deeper chamber loomed ahead, dark and impossible. Shapes moved at the periphery of vision, coiling and twisting, vanishing when confronted. The pulse grew stronger, sinking with the terror in their own chests. Each step felt heavier, as if gravity itself had thickened in the presence of the darkness. One by one, they began to lose themselves. The sense of direction, of space, of time, melted into the suffocating black. The walls breathed, and whispers filled their minds. Not words, but intentions, promises, and threats that could not be named. The mound of black stone at the center became undeniable. It throbbed, alive, and aware, exhaling a dark warmth that seeped into everything around it. Faces emerged from the stone. Hollow eyes, frozen screams, mouths open in eternal despair. They seemed to watch, judging, waiting. The ground trembled violently. Dust and debris fell from above. Something moved beneath their feet. Serpentine, coiling, unseen, yet felt with every nerve. The pulse was no longer just a sound. It was a force, a presence that pressed against the soul. Panic consumed the remaining intruders. Flashlights flickered, cameras warped, and one by one, they vanished. The earth seemed to swallow them, folding the tunnels inward, reshaping the corridors, leaving nothing behind. Outside, Marrow Creek remained veiled in thick fog. No birds, no wind, no light. Only the hum, faint yet eternal, resonated through the valley. The heartbeat of the world itself, patient, waiting for the next intrusion, ready to consume again. The heart of the tunnels opened into a vast, impossible chamber. Shadows moved independently, coiling and twisting in ways that defied physics. The black stone pulsed like a living heart, exhaling a dense, hot air that pressed against every surface. The remaining intruders stumbled forward, drawn by a force they could neither resist nor understand. The pulse thrummed through the walls, the floors, and their very bones. Every heartbeat matched the rhythm of the stone. Alive, patient, merciless. Shapes emerged from the blackness, ephemeral but terrifying. Faces of the long-dead miners appeared, screaming silently, their mouths frozen in terror. They were fused with the walls, the floor, the stone itself. And yet they moved, watching, waiting. The intruders tried to turn back, but the chamber shifted, corridors folding into themselves. The tunnels were alive, aware, and hungry. The pulse grew stronger, a relentless wave of sound and pressure that crushed all resistance. One by one, they were swallowed, their screams absorbed by the darkness. The last camera recorded a final, warped image. A black hand reaching from the stone, veins glowing faintly, and a ripple of shadow that expanded outward, consuming everything in its path. Above ground, Marrow Creek remained empty, silent, and suffocating. The fog thickened, wrapping the valley in a permanent shroud. Birds did not sing. Animals did not stir. The world seemed to hold its breath, waiting. And beneath it all, in the depths where no light could reach, the black stone pulsed steadily. A heartbeat older than memory, infinite and patient, waiting for the next to trespass. The tunnels breathed, the earth listened, and the darkness waited, eternal, unstoppable, and hungry.